Howdy, everybody. Um, so if you don't know me, I'm iCubed, Josh Marsh. This is my second video actually that I'm going to post on YouTube. And my first one was a little bit tongue in cheek about solving computer problems, like leak code problems and stuff like that. But I actually really do like to solve those problems, and I don't mind the AI helping me and stuff like that. But part of the problem solving process for me is just learning new things and growing. So, it being December 1st, Advent of Code has started. I thought it'd be fun to record these. I actually think I'm going to live stream them too. So, if you're interested in that, I'll try and do it every day. I can't promise that that will happen just because I have a life and family, but I'll give it my best shot. But I thought I'd try and go through and solve them. And just so you can see my thought process, I think I'll do it in two parts. So I'm most familiar with like C and Go. I use those quite a bit in my day-to-day work, as well as some other languages, Python and things like that. So I have a lot of familiarity in those fields, less so in Rust, and even less so in Haskell, however you say it. My goal for these Advent of Code ones is usually to like sharpen my skills with languages that I'm not super familiar with. So I'm gonna do it in two parts. There'll probably be two videos. Obviously, when I'm streaming, it'll just be one after the other. But the goal is to do it live, so you're gonna hear a lot of me thinking out loud and stuff like that. The idea is, can I solve it in Rust, which I don't know, 3 or 4 years of experience doing with a bunch of side projects and stuff like that, and tinkering. And then Haskell, which I only have like 2 weeks. I mean, I've done functional programming before. My very first computer science classes were in Lisp or Scheme. And so I'm not unfamiliar with it, and I like understand how they work, but Haskell is still very new to me, so it'll be interesting to see that process. Anyway, I think we should just get started on the problems, right? So I already looked at problem one, but we'll go there just so if anyone isn't aware, Advent of Code is like the idea is it's like an advent calendar, but coding problems. And usually it's like a fun little map that you get as you solve the problem. You see a cool little design that comes up right here. But let's just get started into day one. It's Trebuchet. Something is wrong with the global snow production, and you've been selected to take a look. The elves have even given you a map on it. They've used stars to mark the top 50 locations that are likely to be having problems. You've been doing this long enough that you know that to restore snow operations, you need to check all 50 stars by December 25th. So collect stars by solving puzzles. 2 puzzles will be made available on each day in the Advent calendar. The second puzzle is unlocked when you complete the first. Each puzzle grants 1 star. Good luck. Yeah, so this is pretty common, or this has happened with all the previous Advent calendars if you're not familiar with it, is there's 2 puzzles a day, there's 25 days, 50 total stars. Sometimes it takes me multiple days to solve a problem just because I only have an hour here or there. Maybe if I'm recording it, it will kind of help me get better at that. But I do like to go back to them throughout the year and try and finish them when I have time. So let's just get on to the first day's puzzle. You try to ask why they can't use a weather machine, not powerful enough, and where they're even sending you. The sky. Okay, I guess we're going into the sky. And why your map mostly looks blank. You sure ask a lot of questions. And hang on, did you just say sky? Of course. Where do you think snow comes from? Okay. That's a bit coincidental since I'm looking out my windows right now and it is snowing outside here in Utah. When you realize that the elves are already loading you into a trebuchet. Please hold still, we need to strap you in. If we ever get to it, I have a funny story about trebuchets. I tried to build one of my own. As they're making the final adjustments, they discover that their calibration document, your puzzle input, has been amended by a very young elf who was apparently just excited to show off her art skills. Consequently, the elves are having trouble reading the values on the document. The newly improved calibration document consists of lines of text. Each line originally contained a specific calibration value that the elves now need to recover. On each line, the calibration value can be found by combining the first digit and the last digit in that order to form a single 2-digit number. For example, 1 ABC2. So in this example, the calibrations are 12, 38, 15. Yeah, so 12, the first and the last. 1, 5. So you can kind of see like you're finding them here. It's showing you kind of an interesting case where the first and the last might be 7, and so you'd still do 7 for both of them. Adding these lines together produces 142. So, okay, so I guess let's finish. Consider the entire calibration document. What is the sum of all the calibration values in your input? So what is it asking? Essentially, we're going to do some kind of sanitation on the input here. We only want digits, and we're just going to grab the first and last digit. And from that first and last, we're going to generate a number. And then we're going to then add all of them together to give us a final value. Right? Okay, that's not too hard. So I'll use this to download it. 2023. Yep, that's right. We'll add the README to it so we can refer back to it later as we're working on it. But mostly we're interested in the input. So we'll do that. Let's just make sure. We have the 2. I don't think this one's too hard, but, you know, you never know. We'll see how we go with here. My projectile in Emacs is going to find all of them. I may, the next time I'm doing things, have to do something interesting in that respect. Maybe I should be doing these in their own repo. That might make more sense. I can figure out how to share the code later. It's a little weird that it doesn't actually do that. I think it's because I'm already in like a Git repo. So if I we aren't even solving the problem and we're already doing stuff, right? So I want to kind of make this its own thing. So if I do cargo init, is there a way for me to force it to use a VCS? Like if I do cargo init VCS git, it might find this one now in my Emacs. Let's just see if that works. Yeah, that does that. Okay, so I'll just need to remember that in the future. I want to set the workspace. Sorry, I wasn't talking because I was thinking this through. LSP workspace. Will that work? This is an Emacs thing. Projectile is working. Okay, now it's working. I just need to add specific days. The reason is okay, so what was I doing? I have my Advent of Code in my puzzles repo where I do all this stuff when I'm trying to solve these puzzles. And it just so happens that Emacs was trying to use my puzzles Git repo to like do all the stuff, which wasn't here. Anyway, already starting off not actually doing stuff, but isn't that the programmer's way? You end up like working on your like editor or whatever. At least this is what I do before you actually do your real stuff. Okay, so first step is we just want to get the input, right? So we'll say let input equal, it will be like that. And then we'll collect all those. So we each have all their lines, and then we'll just do print line part 1 like this, for all the lines, right? So what does part 1 look like? That part's right, but this is not. We're going to have some total, and then we're going, at the end, we're going to return that total, right? U32 probably. I mean, we can do usize. I don't know how that's going to affect the thing. But now, what are we going to do? We're going to go through like each line, and we kind of want to like sanitize the line. Well, let's do that first. For line and lines, we don't need any of this. We're going to first sanitize the line. So we'll just say like let line equal line dot iter or cars dot filter. And I think we actually, this is a funny way to do it. We can do like c dot is digit radix 10, and then we'll collect them. So now we have a line. So we've taken the whole line, right? Let's just think about it this way. We've taken the whole line and 2, 6, that's interesting. 51591. We've taken the whole line and we've stripped everything out but the digits. And so now we can just say let number equal line 0 to digit 10 plus, it won't be 1, but that's a good start. I actually think it'll be this times 10, right? So the idea is we'll say we're going to take the first digit, convert it, unwrap it. This will have to be a U size, huh? It probably won't know. And then we'll have to take then we'll take the last one. So we'll do like this. Convert it and unwrap it, and then we'll say total plus equals number. What doesn't it like? Cannot convert U32. Does 2-digit allow you to? Oh, it's always a U32. I could do this, or I could just return a U32. Like, what are the odds that the answer is going to be some huge number? Is ASCII digit. Oh, is ASCII digit. I can do this. Oh, if I can do that, it probably is going to have me do something different. Okay. So does this look right? So for each of the lines, we're going to filter out where they're digits. And then we're going to take the first digit, multiply it by 10, and take the last digit and add that to our total and return the total. This doesn't have to be a mute. Run it. 55721. 712. Let's see it. That's right. Okay, I like to do optimizations when I'm working on this stuff. So let's think about not necessarily optimizations, but how we might let the code look nicer. After we have the digits here, we could probably collect them. So if we call this digits, and then we do a map like this, we then convert them all, and then the number is just, it's not as efficient, but it does feel like it looks cleaner. Oh, this will be digits. Digits. Oh no, digits. One more digits. So the first one by times 10 and the second one times 1. That probably works too. 55712. Yep. So let's think then. Any other ways to do this? I wonder in Rust. I mean, there is you can do like a first and an nth as you're iterating over the thing. Can you do a last? So like Rust iter last. Rust iter get only first and last. I wonder if there's like what I'm wondering is there's some kind of fun way to do both of them. I mean, I can just do first and last. I don't know. I'm kind of struggling to see if there's like a better way to do this. This feels fine to me. So maybe we just leave it how it is. We say get all the characters, filter them by the ones that are ASCII digits, map each of those to an actual number, and then we can use those down there. This is not super efficient. You could potentially just take these and then turn it into a number, like if you're going for like performance, but I mean, the size of the input is relatively low, so I don't think either of them matter. So this feels like a good first solution for me. Cleaned it up a little bit. So let's go on to part 2, see what we got. Continue on to part 2. Your calculation isn't quite right. It looks like some of the digits are actually spelled out with letters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, I had seen that in some of the input, right? So yeah, like there's a 2 and a 6 here, and a 9, a 1. 7, 8, 9 also count as valid digits. Equipped with the new information, you need to find the real first and last digits of the line. For example, 219. So this one would actually 219, 823. Oh, that would be there could be like overlaps between them, right? So 8, 2, 3. The end result doesn't matter because it's like 8 and 3, right? The answer to this line 2 is 8 and 3. But there is an 8, 2, 3. But not 16. Okay, so this one would be 7 and 6, right? The last one's 7. Z1, 8. Like this is 2, 3. 1, 8, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 3, 4. There's definitely overlaps in them, which makes it. Well, my initial thought was just do find and replaces of all these. and then pass them through the filter again. So like an initial step to my part 1 solution would be to go through all of it, and if I find a 2, replace it with a 2 right here. That'll be something to think about. But I don't think I can, right? Like the idea would be is if this 219, maybe I can kind of like draw this out. You have an initial string of 219, right? And then that becomes 219, which I can then literally just pass to part 1, right? So I can reuse part 1 if I get there. But this one is interesting because, like, let's use this one for example. I want this one to be 1, 8, 2, 3, 4, because there is a 1 and there is an 8. Does that matter? Like if I'm picking the first one, I don't think it does. If you think about like how someone else might solve this, is they might like I'm just using cars and filter. Another solution would be literally to like start at the beginning and find the first digit, and then start at the end and find the first digit going backwards, right? If you're using that solution, traversing forward then traversing backwards, that's probably the optimal solution, at least for part 1, right? Because I don't have to do any of this stuff. The issue you run into is like when you're searching backwards, you're actually going to find 8 right here. Let's imagine that these aren't here. We want the answer to Z18 like this is 18, right? So you actually want this to produce a 1 going forward and an 8 going backwards. So maybe that's actually how I solve part 2. I start at the beginning and I say, is it a digit? And if it is, then I've got the first one. If it's not, I look to see if it's one of the prefixes, see if I have one of the numbers of the as a prefix, and then I do it. And then I start from the back and I do the same thing, right? Look for the first digit or the first number. So that doesn't really allow me to reuse part 1, which is a little, sometimes I really like the idea of reusing code. But I may not be able to do that here. It would be an interesting, though, thought process to say, can I still do it that way? Like, can I get this to produce this? I might be able to. Let's just try something. Let's write a function called words to digits that takes a line and returns an altered string. So it would look something like, I feel like maybe I'm overthinking this to reuse the code here. Like it's probably easier just to find the first one. Yeah, let's just do that. So part 2, we're going to handle it differently. We'll start with the same stuff. we'll probably still have something like this, but we'll have a first times 10 and a last. So we'll have a let first equals something blank and then last equals blank. And then down here, we'll do some logic to find the first and last digits in the string. We'll do that here. And then we'll just say let first equal like that. So sorry, sometimes my thinking is in a stack-based thing. The one thing we'll obviously want to check for digits, but we also want to have like a has prefixes line. When we say line stir, and we will return a bool, but we actually want the equivalent character of the thing, right? So imagine this has prefixes function. What is it going to do? Check for 1, 2, etc. as a prefix and return its equivalent character if found, is what we're going to do right here, right? So we are going to need probably a map of those values. I can probably do it in a vector. There you go, like this. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If line starts with, there you go, thanks AI. So we say like if the line starts with one of these prefixes, then we found it and return that instead. Okay, so now how do we do this? We're going to start at the beginning. This is kind of ugly. We may want to think about a funner way to solve this. But we're going to say like for each of the chars, we're going to see if there's a prefix for the line. We're going to use like a slice of the line from where our current position is. First or mute. Okay. Before this, we also want to do a check too. We want to say like if it's a digit, then we're going to do that. Okay, there you go. So we actually don't need cur here. So that will get us the first. Now we're going to do the same, but in reverse. I have an extra parenthesis there. But basically just do the same thing, except this one will now be last. Something like that. Okay, so now our part 2 function, I think it's done, right? Because we're going to get the first and last from those for loops, and then we do the conversion process. Call has prefix. Okay. So just do it right here. Five, 5, 4, 1, 3. Let's see if we got it. That is correct, but it's really ugly. I kind of want to look and see if there's another way. I do like this check function. I mean, it's not too bad. You could turn this into a map and have it be static. We're using the same logic in here, so we could break that out into its own function. That might simplify the code a little bit. In fact, the logic is the same. These chunks are the same, so we could actually write a function that kind of does this whole thing and just does it on this and then the reverse of this and get the first and the last. So besides the has prefixes function, we could create like a find first digit with we would get a pointer. It's always going to return 1, right? They didn't say there might not be one. I guess it's easier to do it here. So we do return an option. So we say for C in cars if it's a digit, else if C found in this doesn't quite work. This expects this pointer to a string. So we will have to do like a iter enumerate. And then we can do this is going to be this is really hacky-ish, but it will still work. Is there a toString function? Rust car slice toString. There's probably some way that I just don't know. I'm not familiar with. Iter collect. Okay. There you go. Okay, so how does that change? So now I have this function that says if you give me a list of characters, I'll return the first one that is a number. It's actually not like that. I want the characters, and then I want a traversal, which is a list of usizes. So that might actually make this easier. It doesn't in this part, but no, it's not going to make it easier because I still do the same thing. What is this? Type car cannot be indexed from standard ops range from use. Oh, I need to do like reference on these. There you go. Okay, so I have the characters, then I have a traversal order. And now I just switch the traversal order. So you'd say like let first equal that. And then let last equals the same thing, but in reverse. Yeah, okay, that produces the same results. So that one's not too bad. This is probably, if you're doing it in C, this is how it would more look like, right? I mean, again, we're doing it in kind of a weird way in Rust, but I could also do some optimizations here. I think, though, this is probably enough for day one. How long have I been going? 36 minutes. So this is probably enough of a solution for us. Some of the other ones are going to take much longer, right? I know we've talked about it a lot more in Rust and kind of optimized them, looked at the code. Let me just peek through it again. Yeah, that's okay. We find the first. Part 2. Okay. Yeah, I feel pretty good about it. We're going to stop here, I think, for the Rust one. So you can kind of see a lot of thought process. I don't remember all the things in Rust. Doesn't hurt to look them up. I ought to try and find a way to be able to look these things up. Oh, I do have a LAML, so I could like use a LLM to like ask questions in my Emacs. That might help. But you can see a lot of it's just like finding the solutions. This one wasn't too hard, right? It was basically just a very iterative approach, which may change when we're going in Haskell land, right? So that's what I'll be doing in the next video. Can I solve this problem in Haskell? Obviously, I already know a working solution. That might help. We'll find out. Anyway, I'm interested to know how you guys solved it. So you'll have to tell me your solutions or ways to optimize this. I would love to see how you might optimize it to do a better job. Anyway, I'll keep doing this. And again, I will try and stream it. So if you happen to find this video, check for when I'm streaming it on the YouTubes. And you can help me through all this and watch me go through it the next couple days. So thanks all. Talk to you later.